A bone-chilling shriek tore through the eerie silence of the night. It was a sound that could freeze your blood, a primal scream that echoed in the deepest corners of my subconscious. I was yanked from the clutches of a horrifying nightmare, my heart pounding like a wild drum against my ribcage. In the nebulous realm of my dream, a grotesque-faced man had been trying to break into our sanctuary, our home. His face, a macabre mask of twisted features, was pressed against the glass, his eyes burning with a malevolent intent. The dream was so vivid, so real, that it felt as though I could still feel the icy tendrils of fear coiling around my heart, even as I bolted upright in my bed. The room was shrouded in darkness, a canvas of shadows painted by the moonlight filtering through the window. The silence was oppressive, a thick blanket that seemed to muffle the frantic rhythm of my breathing. For a moment, I was suspended in that dreadful limbo between the nightmare and the waking world, my mind struggling to untangle the threads of reality from the sinister tapestry of my dream. Every nerve in my body was on edge, a raw symphony of fear and confusion. The dream had been too real, too chilling, its echoes still resonating in the hollow silence of the night. My skin prickled with the ghostly remnants of the dream, the phantom touch of the cold glass, the imagined terror of the man's gruesome face. The world felt distorted, as if I was looking through a warped lens. The familiar contours of my room seemed alien and threatening, the shadows cast by the furniture twisted into grotesque shapes by my fear-addled mind. I could still feel the echo of the dream, a cold shiver that ran down my spine, a haunting reminder of the terror that had gripped me. I tried to shake off the lingering dread, to banish the nightmare to the deepest recesses of my mind. But just as I was starting to regain a semblance of control, a real-life scream pierced the stillness. It was a sound that made my blood run cold, a shrill cry of pure terror that echoed from the other end of the house. As I was trying to shake off the terror of the dream, a real-life scream echoed from the other end of the house. My heart pounded in my chest as I sprinted down the hallway, following the sound of my daughter's cries. The echoes of her terrified screams filled the air, chilling my spine and turning the once familiar and comforting walls of our home into a maze of fear and uncertainty. Every step I took was driven by an overpowering sense of panic and concern, an instinctual need to protect, to shield her from whatever was causing her such distress. My mind raced with questions, each one more horrifying than the last. Was it a nightmare? Or was there something more sinister at play here? Bursting into her room, the sight that greeted me was one that no parent ever wants to see. My little girl, barely a teenager, was huddled under her blanket, her face buried deep into her pillow. Her body shivered with fear, her cries muffled by the fabric. It was a sight that could make even the bravest of hearts falter. Slowly, I approached her, my hands shaking as I reached out to gently pull the blanket away. Her tear-streaked face looked up at me, her eyes wide with terror. Her voice, barely a whisper, sent a shiver down my spine. "A man was watching me outside," she stammered, her words hanging heavy in the air. My heart skipped a beat, my blood running cold as I processed her words. Outside? But we were on the second floor. My mind scrambled to make sense of it all, but the only thing that was clear was that my daughter was terrified. I pulled her into my arms, holding her close as I reassured her. "It's okay, baby, you're safe now," I murmured, but my own words did little to ease my own fear. As I glanced out the window, the world outside was dark and quiet, the night offering no clues as to what had transpired. My blood ran cold as I realized the nightmare was not just a dream. The line between reality and imagination blurred, leaving us trapped in a horrifying reality. The terror of the night was far from over, and I knew then that we were in for a long, sleepless night. Every instinct screamed danger as I rushed to secure the house. My heartbeat was a drum pounding in my ears as I bolted the front door, the metallic clang echoing through the silent hallways. The windows were next, each one a potential entry point for the unseen terror. The curtains, once mere decorations, now served as flimsy shields against the outside world. My hands trembled as I locked each one, the click of the latch a small victory against the invader. Each room became a fortress, every shadow a hiding place. The house, once a sanctuary, was now a battlefield. I moved through each room methodically, double-checking every possible entrance, every potential hiding spot. The darkness seemed to press in from all sides, a tangible manifestation of my fear. I could almost feel the intruder lurking in the corners of my vision, a specter unseen but palpably present. My daughter's room was the hardest. Seeing her cowering, her face hidden in her pillow, her small body shaking with every sob, broke my heart. But I couldn't let my own fear show. I had to be strong for her, so I swallowed my fear, put on a brave face, and told her everything was going to be okay. I checked her windows next, making sure they were securely locked. As I did, I couldn't help but glance outside, half expecting to see a gruesome face staring back at me. But there was nothing, just the inky blackness of the night. Yet the feeling of being watched, of being hunted, remained. I sat down next to my daughter, pulling her into a comforting embrace. I whispered soothing words into her ear, trying to calm her racing heart. It felt like a small act of defiance against the unseen intruder, a way to reclaim our home from the terror that had invaded it. But even as I tried to comfort her, I could feel the sinister presence lurking outside. With the first rays of dawn, I decided to investigate. The morning light, usually comforting, felt ominous, casting shadows that seemed to mock my fear. It was as if the world was unaware of the terror that had unfolded in the night. I began my investigation at the boundary of our home, the place where safety ends and the unknown begins. The perimeter of the house was eerily quiet. Each footstep on the dew-soaked grass seemed to echo, a stark contrast to the silence. I searched for footprints, for signs of disturbance, anything that would confirm the reality of our nightmarish experience. But the ground was undisturbed, the grass pristine, as if untouched by the terror of the night. I moved on to the windows, the potential eyes through which this intruder may have peered. But they were as they always were, reflecting the growing daylight, yet revealing nothing of the darkness past. I searched for handprints, scratches, any indication of a presence. But again, there was nothing. The fear, however, refused to subside. Every shadow, every rustle of the wind seemed to whisper of the stranger who had invaded our sanctuary. The absence of evidence was not comforting, but rather a chilling reminder of the unseen nature of our intruder. I then moved inside, examining the rooms, the doors, the locks. I was looking for signs of forced entry, for any clue that could shed light on the identity of this stranger. But the house was as it always was, familiar and safe, yet now tainted with a sense of violation. The investigation was exhaustive, yet it yielded nothing. The home, the sanctuary that had been violated, was seemingly untouched. The fear and suspicion lingered, a dark cloud on an otherwise sunny morning. The absence of signs, the lack of evidence, only served to amplify the unease. The unseen intruder was still unseen, a ghostly presence that had left no trace of existence. Yet, as hard as I looked, there was no trace of anyone having been there. That night left a chilling imprint on our lives. The echo of my daughter's terrified screams, the vision of that grotesque face from my nightmare, they've become a part of our reality. The fear that was born that night is a constant companion now, lurking in every shadow, hiding in every corner, whispering in every gust of wind. In the days following that dreadful night, my daughter and I, we found ourselves in a world that was no longer safe, a world that was no longer ours. The sanctuary that was our home was invaded by an unseen watcher, leaving us feeling vulnerable and exposed. Every rustle, every creak, every unfamiliar sound was a reminder of our violated sanctuary. My daughter, once a vibrant, carefree spirit, became a shadow of her former self. Her laughter, once the music of our home, was replaced by silence. Her dreams, once filled with rainbows and unicorns, were now haunted by the face of the unseen watcher. Her world, once filled with joy and innocence, was now tainted with fear and distrust. As for me, I found myself on constant alert, my every instinct focused on protecting my child, shielding her from the unseen terror. Sleep became a luxury, a risk I was unwilling to take. Every potential entry point into our home was reinforced, every window covered, every door locked and double-checked. A security system was installed, a guard dog was adopted. Yet, the fear persisted. We sought professional help. We attended therapy sessions. We tried to reclaim our lives from the grip of fear. Yet, the impact of that night, the terror of the unseen watcher, it lingered, casting a long, dark shadow over our lives. We may never know if the man from my nightmare and my daughter's terror were one and the same, but we'll forever be haunted by the fear of the unseen watcher. Y'all, we're wrapping up here, but don't you go anywhere just yet. Show some love, hit that like button. Fancy more content like this? Go on, subscribe and let that bell icon ring so you won't miss a beat. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next time, stay tuned.